If we call Ron, that's how he bought his new car. I mean, so we gave you this little chart, and it's a little part of it's going to be done in here, and then you're going to take the rest of it home, and then come back with your ahas. So what we're going to do with this is you're going to take about 5 minutes, look over the chart, and then pick one, and then answer these questions on the one. Is that right, Ms. Rita? Yeah. So you pick one. I'm just going to give an example. My conscious mind, and then you read all of that description, and then you look and you think of your life and you say, in general, how do I perceive the present state of my being in this dimension of my wholeness? So it doesn't mean about, getting all down on yourself or anything. It's just about taking a little inventory, a little stock of where are you today? There you go. So you can choose any one, and then when we're done, so 5 minutes, look over your chart.
We're only going to do one.
And then you're only going to do one tonight.
Then
Clear?
You can take it home and do
You
what
guys
you
are just wonderful. I never have to explain anything more than once. There's Diane.
We're doing one tonight, but then we do all of them at home? Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's the homework part, but.
And I didn't leave you a whole lot of room to write.
So you can actually, on another sheet of paper or something else, do those
whatever.
questions.
Or
There
in your
you go.
journal or whatever. Just pick one.
just take another minute or so. And if you're not done with them all, that's fine. Just you're going to take it home anyway, but we're just going to get some ahas.
Just kind of get some ahas or something that
Just started.
struck you. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but because it's a real good reflective exercise to do, especially like working on your final project and stuff, it could be helpful to kind of gauge where you're at and areas you might want to work on, or where you feel really good. Try to dwell on the positive, I think. Does anybody want to share any ahas that they had? Loretta?
I wrote about the spiritual aspect of myself, and I was telling Patrick just a little bit during break how this week I've been mindful of having a lot of criticism of self and judgment of self, and then of course that bleeds into having that everywhere in my life, and so just trying to be mindful in that and bring compassion to myself. And so as I was writing, I've been really trying to do these meditations and journaling with having this like feeling attached to God and knowing that I'm God, and like making that transition that like God is outside of me and I'm seeking it versus God is inside of me and it is everything that is me. And so I wrote that I have been keenly aware of all the things that are not God, and so instead of all the things that are God. So that was kind of like the aha, like, okay, even though I've been trying to shift my thinking and shift my, be in gratitude and practice all of this, these tools essentially, like it hasn't really been working. Like I just feel like I've been spinning my wheels up until maybe this little insightful moment.
Awesome. Yay. Anyone else want to say? Ron?
This is Ron Stover. He's new to the class. The real Ron.
I've actually been sitting back there.
I know you. I know
have a
you
lot
do.
of things to say. Anyways, I've been working on my physical part, and there's been a lot of activity in the last couple months, and I've reduced the number of drugs I take. I've eliminated sugar from my diet. I've lost 10 pounds as a result. I reduced my A1C from 12, which was dangerously high, to 6.5, which is near normal.
Look at you.
I'm working right now on eliminating my diabetes, and I don't take as many diabetic drugs anymore. I'm cutting that out. So
Wow.
it's all coming together.
Stay away from
Awesome.
the caramel. Stay away from the caramel corn.
We have time for one more aha, and we're going to move
Aha.
on. And then if we
Aha.
have time, we'll come back.
Yes.
Anything
Oh,
else?
there we go. Jamie.
Oh, sorry.
So I too wrote about the spiritual aspect of myself, and I had an aha moment where I had realized, I think part of what I thought was blocking me was that I had doubt. And when writing this, I had realized I have, it's not really doubt, it's that I lacking confidence in the answer. Like I feel the message, it just seems a little fuzzy, and I'm just not confident that I'm getting it right. And so I feel like I have opened the gate and I'm on the right path, and I feel like I'm doing all the right things and it's getting there. I just am beginning the journey in the right direction. So it's not that I feel like the doubt is gone. Like I had thought that was the biggest thing that I needed to overcome, but really it's just gaining the confidence and that this is it. This is the answer. This is what you've been waiting for.
And as I was
Makes
telling
me wanna
Loretta,
cry.
and I'll say this about, I was with someone in a session, and I asked the question. I was doing a phone conversation, and I asked the question, when's the last time you told yourself you were proud of you? Then there was silence for like ever, the awkward silence, It's like, I'm going to be in trouble now, he's going to say. And I really, really urge us to take a moment to say how proud you are of yourself, for even having the audacity to open up doors, the audacity to entertain that I am the I am, that I am God. To take that moment to say, you know what, especially when we're sitting there going, oh, you know, what am I doing? I'm hearing it, but I'm not. To go, you know what, I am so proud of you for you really caring enough about me to want more for me. And if you can't talk to yourself that way, it's never going to be any good if anyone else does. But I'm going to tell you it's hard because this individual said, I said, just before you go to bed at night, just say, I'm really proud of you. And when you wake up, go, I'm really proud of you. And I know him well, that he is not going to do that now, today. But he's going to at some time. But right now, because he went, oh, that's a great idea. You know, but it was kind of a little higher pitch than the voice. You know, it's like, that's a great idea. Somebody should try that, not me. You know, because it takes a moment for us. I mean, think of this. If we cannot, and nobody in this room, if we cannot sit for a moment and say, I'm proud of you, Patrick. I'm proud of you. If I can't do that, how am I ever going to open up enough to find the other aspects of who I am if I can't say that? So, anyway.
Yeah, because it is important to dwell on what you're doing right
Mm-hmm.
and to stop picking yourself apart, you know?
Yeah.
So, I'm not talking loud enough now.
I just want to add about when I did find that money, obviously super grateful, and I do believe in, I call them angels and connections and divine matrix, and I thank them, and I thanked myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time of just like, you know, thank you, Mom and Dad, and all the everything, and thank you, me. You know I definitely had a big part of it, and I was it. That, yeah, even in my journal, I thanked my angels and blah, 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 and myself. Yeah.
There you go.
It wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been open to it. If you hadn't opened the field up to yourself, yeah, for sure.
Uh-huh. So that's your nighty-night homework. Before you go to sleep, you have to say to your, well, I invite you. I can't make you do anything.
Yeah.
I am,
So now we have some,
I think you're great.
we just have some words from Dr. Joe on how we can help ourselves, all right? So, so we describe who we are by how we are thinking. So we say things like what? Like, I feel tired, I am, you know, a piece of whatever, I am poor, I am, you know, I am not worth it. I mean, we say these things, right? And we feel them. So what happens when feelings become the means of thinking, or if we cannot think bigger than how we feel, we can never change. So the whole point of his work is, and our work too, I mean, in Science of Mind, is to think bigger than what we're feeling, to be able to take the leap of saying, God loves me and I am loved, right? When we're not maybe feeling that. So to change is to think greater than we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. It is to be greater than the body. So we're like slaves to our body, he says, right? He always says, take the animal for a walk and train it. He does. Stuff like that. So
subtle as a magic.
yeah. So so to change is to think greater than we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. So we've got all these feelings that are memorized, and they are memorized. We've talked about this, and I think we can all agree with that they are memorized, or they wouldn't keep coming up, right? And so it's scientific. So, and then they're all stored in our body. So can we think greater than we feel? That's the whole work, to think greater than we feel. It's not always easy, but I know we can do it. I know it's possible.
Because we do it all the time.
Because we do it. We do it, and many of us have done it.
We're doing it here tonight.
Like today, I did it. I was walking in town, and I was feeling really like I was dragging my body around, which I was literally doing. And then all of a sudden, I thought, you're just, you know, there's some pattern here that's not working. And I put springs in the bottom of my feet, and I started walking with the springs. And it changed everything. It just changed everything.
I got this vision of Tigger from Winnie the Pooh.
You need to write these down. You need to write tips,
I say,
tips from Chia.
Chia's going down there. Wow, who would have thought? And they're going, what would have happened? They go, what's wrong with you, Chia? I don't know. I got springs in my feet. That's my
Chips
girl.
or chia?
You can go shopping with Jai.
Next one. Yeah, okay.
So, overcoming the body. Science. All those heightened feelings flood the body and change its physiology, right? This chemical cocktail fires up a set of circuits to the brain, causing you to think equal to those emotions. This is how the chemical you functions. So once again, we get this information that we're firing off all this stuff, and I'm thinking, but how do we get to use it? Practically. So it does, even though I love that it's science, it's science. Well, that's lovely that it is, but it doesn't matter if it's science if we don't know how to use it, right? So we just accept, and we accept that these studies tell us that these heightened feelings, and we all know what they are, flood the body, and it changes us. We know that when we get irritated, or I have a lot in my solar plexus when something, call it negative if you want, happens. Other people, they go, my heart, my heart, I can feel it up here. I feel it here almost like I've said it before, I can feel it like acid. Like, especially anger or fear or feelings of being attacked. It's like not poison, but acid is being released in my body. And I can actually feel it now. Before, I just never thought it. I'm angry and I'm feeling that. And now, by knowing some of this, we can go, wow, I stop myself and I go, your stomach is really burning. What's going on? What's going on, babe? Nothing, I just got to get here. And I go, no. You're playing a lot of movies. You're doing a lot of tapes. We're going to sit down right now and we're going to... But it's not the body that I need to stop. I need to work with my consciousness and the thoughts that are producing. We know what that's like. Sometimes we wake up in the morning, I mean, at least I have, and it starts to feel that again. I go, man, I'm not even fully awake yet. Take it to the purple room.
The purple room.
Take it, and then just before I do that, repeating the same thoughts and feelings you've courted for more than 20 years has conditioned your body to remember the suffering without much conscious thought. So now we just do it. But what's great is, and I was telling Rita today as we were going over this, I said, this is what that mental rehearsing is. So we've done this for 20 years.
Been mental rehearsing.
And then we go, I'm going to mentally rehearse loving myself. This doesn't work. And you're like, dude, 20 years. 20 years, man. 20 years we've been saying whatever we've been saying. And here's the great news with that. It doesn't take 20 years to change it back. That's the greatest news. It may have taken 20 years to program, but it's instantaneous when we know that we have a power that backs us, that is us, that all that's required is for us to give the blueprint, to give the template, that I don't want to feel this way anymore. You don't want to feel? Well, how do you want to feel? How do you want to think? And then you go, what? The match program. I do a little bit, and it's like, whoa, I'm ready to go. Yes. Oh, did you have something? That was it? No, she said it got taken care of. There you go. Love this.
I love this picture. The computer is going to keep doing what it does until you get into its operating system and change the settings.
Change the settings.
In effect, you will have to deprogram or unwire your brain with new patterns of thinking and feeling based on who you want to be instead. When you condition your body with a new mind, the two can no longer work in opposition, but must be in harmony. This is the point of change, of self-creation. So this part here, when
plus we send these out. We send
we're
out your
gonna send you the whole thing,
PowerPoint
so
so
you don't
you
have to
guys
write it down.
can.
When you condition your body with a new mind, the two can no longer work in opposition. Remember when he talks about in the book, he says people that want to just say they're thinking positive,
Right.
but inside they're not. They're not thinking positive. They're not, because there's the subjective is all. But once you get it coherent, they can no longer work in opposition. They can no longer work in opposition if you can get yourself to that point where you're thinking about what you want instead of, and you're actually reprogramming, and you're actually acting from that place, because I believe you have to go out and act from that place. You can't just think about it. You've got to actually, in order to really embody it, you have to start acting like that, you know? So, Ron, you want to say something?
Actually, it was kind of hung over.
Closer to your mouth.
Actually, it was like hung over from last year, but what I started this year was I realized that I needed to do this, but I was driving a lot, and I was having a lot of trouble doing that, and particularly with other drivers. So what I really started was I got, what's her name? The tapes, the CDs. I've just literally.
Abraham?
Abraham. I listen to Abraham about 8 hours a day now. If I drive for 8 hours, I listen to Abraham for 8 hours. And that is what has been rewiring that 20 years of thoughts. And I know that it's working for me because everything is shifting. Yeah, everything. My feeling, my tummy no longer hurts, and I'm making amazing amounts of money. I couldn't do that by myself. That was my problem.
Right.
To hear it. That's why we read things, why we take classes, why we meditate,
Right.
why we do all that stuff, because yeah, just sitting there thinking about it, what's going to happen? Nothing. So yeah, so you're listening to stuff that's powerful, and it is reprogramming you. That's what it's doing. It's exactly doing that. Right. Exactly.
So the question I have, though, Ron, so when you are listening to Esther Hicks or Abraham, whatever I call her Esther Hicks, you know that she's supporting you. I love that word, supporting you, but you're the one that is actually opening up and allowing that to be.
Agreed.
She's not hypnotizing you. In
No,
other
no,
words.
no. Right. It's important that we keep.
Right. It is me who loves my car, that is happy to be doing this right now, is not getting angry, but being happy, even if that guy in front of me cuts me off, or whatever it is. I have a choice about not going that way, but going this way.
Right. And I still want to go back to Esther Hicks and Abraham, because this is what I want to say. You can listen to Abraham Hicks, you can listen to me, you can listen to Joe Dispenza, you can do 1,000,000 of his meditations, you can listen to 12 hours a day, and you can still not change unless you choose what he's doing to be reprogrammed. You cannot be reprogrammed unless you open up that door of
Well, you have to say, I want to change.
I want to change,
I
and
made a
so give me the
decision to
support
change.
I need. And so I'm driving around going, Dad, that makes sense. That's what they talked about. Yeah, that makes sense. And that starts the reprogramming. But I know a lot of people that can listen to Esther Hicks
And go back to
and
business
still
as
go right
usual.
back to business as usual.
Right. So it is your decision to
I
change.
just want to always, my big thing is to always remind you and help and assist you in owning the incredible power that you are,
Right, right.
and that we're all just assistants.
Okay, well, I'm totally on board with everything that's been said. It's just that the body has been programmed, and the body is running the show at this
Right.
point. So I don't want to just ignore the body. I mean, I can't just ignore the body, because it's like all the hormones and the chemicals and everything are you start thinking differently. It's like, no.
Right.
No,
Well, what did he say about that?
No, I know, but it's like, so how, I'm just really taken by listening to what Joe Dispenza said earlier, that in 12 weeks, he healed that's amazing. So I guess we can do it too, right? In 12
Right,
weeks?
right.
Because I want to be kind to my body. I want to be kind to, I don't want to, it's like a little errant child that's running, loose with all these crazy feelings.
That's
and
when
stuff.
he's talking about you have to think greater than what you're feeling.
Absolutely.
You have to think greater than what your body is telling you, and you. Right.
Yeah,
Well, the
but
only
you
way
don't
you
wanna
could
be
do
c-
it is to be kind to it. You can't beat it up and tell
Kind
you hate
doesn't
it.
mean
Allow you.
that I'm going to allow it to continue in my being. That's what I mean. A kind means I'm going to help you through the 20 years you spent programming, that 50 years or whatever it is. And please do not think that you haven't had progress, because you all have, or we wouldn't even be sitting here right now if we hadn't been doing some kind of reprogramming. And we know that because we're not the same people we were before we even walked in. Okay.
What I have to say is we have a choice. And we can take all this information in and get all excited about it. But when it comes down to the moment where I'm standing in my room and I catch a fear thought and I feel it in my stomach and I catch it and I turn my body completely around and face the other way and put my hand on my heart and say, I dissolve that right now in love. And I stand there until I feel love, and the energy goes right out. That's
Another
that's,
a tip from Chia, a chip from Tia.
I'm gonna.
That's great. I like the idea what you said as she turned herself around in the other direction.
Right, but here's the deal about kind and about turning yourself around. I am a firm believer that everything would be dissolved the moment that we truly said, I love you. There is not a dis-ease that can live or come near you when you turn around and you say, well, how do I do it? How do I do it? Because you start with, I love you. I love you. Yeah, but I love you. I love you. Well, I like to actually talk to me like I'm actually, yeah, I love me, I love me, I love me. I do a lot of inner child work, so I have to take this little inner child sometimes and go, I love you, because it feels a little separate. I need this right here. It goes 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so I think this is where I'm kind of having the problem with the thinking greater than. Because I'm just like, okay, that's like a step that you have to do, but I'm not sure how to get there. Like, well, what do they mean by that? Like, I mean, I guess it's different in every circumstance, but.
It means that to think greater than what your environment is, like let's say you're totally, completely desolate with no money. That, you're right. Yeah, thinking greater is like what he's saying is to, and what we say in spiritual mind treatment is to claim what we want. And to put that into law and to keep doing it. So it's thinking greater, not waiting for the environment to show up before you can think greater, but to think greater before and give gratitude for it before. And we're going to have more tools before we end tonight. So.
And the greater than we are is to refuse to stay in whatever muck and mire that we have put ourselves in, and to be able to go, I know this feels like this, but I'm thinking greater than right now. And then I'm going to bring it back again. What will help you to think greater than you've ever thought before? I love me. I love me. Expands beyond anything that you can ever say. When we find out, when we transition from these lovely costumes that we are all wearing here, when we find out, and I hope we find out in our costumes, when we find out that all we had to frickin' do was to say I love you and never ever alter from that, never, no matter what is happening, to say I love you, then this is all we ever needed. But it's fun to do workshops. Yes.
But what if you don't live in the muck and the mire? What if everything's really good already? And I mean, how do you get it better?
Well, then we're going to go to your house first of all, and we're going to go shopping with you.
You get it better the same way you got out of the muck and mire. You just say, I want better. I want this. I want that. I want to experience this. Right.
Yeah.
You think greater than what you were even experiencing.
And here's another one that we want to say about people that go, well, you know, I'm not suffering, I'm not doing this, you know, because we think of ourselves as climbing out of the quicksand of life. But there is always more, because can you imagine the creative process that we're talking about, this thing called God, going, I created a whole galaxy, why do any more? You know, it's like, No, there's more things to have. There's bigger galaxies. There's other things. But we are taught sometimes, and I'm not just saying you, we are programmed to say, well, you know, life is going really good. I mean, who am I to want more when there's so many people that they're suffering and they can't? And then before you know it, you go, who am I to want more? I'm just, and it's like, oh, shut up. There's no other way to say it. Shut up. It's like, of course, we're God to want more and more and more. So if your life is going great, don't hold it down. I remember that. I remember that feeling that I would have. I go, my life is really going good. Why should I want more? I'm talking to all my friends. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even let my friends know my life was going well. Because if I did, they would be like, man, you think that you're doing good. You should see my life. You know, so yeah, more and more and more. I love you because I'm a creative force that is there.
Dara was next. Oh, no. Oh, Diane, then Dara.
I love this. You know, I'm thinking about how, you know, I keep hearing tonight, how do I get there? How do I, you know, it takes a decision to change. And it's not one of those things, you can't fool the universe. You can't like say, I decide that I'm going to live in $1 million home, just because that sounds like a good thing to do. The universe doesn't, the universe picks up our feelings. When you make a decision to, okay, let me describe a decision that I just made recently. A few days ago, I was doing yoga, and I was thinking about my neck, because there's been this carpal tunnel stuff has come back in my left hand, and I thought, the only place my body has actually been injured is my neck. But that was like over 30 years ago. And it occurred to me that my body has been remade a gazillion times in 30 years. And why am I still recreating the injury site? And the neck pain went away. The carpal tunnel isn't completely healed. The body is still coming along, but there's no pain or stiffness in my neck or shoulders anymore. It's gone. The decision was made to trust this philosophy that we are made new in every moment, and every decision we make has an impact on our body. So what else could my body do but respond? And so now, even now, the nerves and tendons are getting used to that new idea floating around. And I fully expect the carpal tunnel symptoms to be gone so that I can garden to my heart's content. But it takes a commitment to letting that go. Like Ron shared about doing it 8 hours a day, and Joe Dispenza talked about doing it for 12 weeks solid. You know, that's a commitment. Most of us think we don't have time to make a decision like that.
Yeah.
But we do. It was a second during my yoga practice when it occurred to me that it was 30 years ago, and I don't have to do it anymore. So.
Good. Thank you, Diane. Dara.
I had an aha this week in meditation, and
Keep your mic.
oh, sorry. And it was the quote by Jesus who said, "You can't put new wine in an old wineskin." And around the how for me, I realized that I'd already been doing it, but I was doing it so fast I didn't know that the first step, as you're saying, Patrick, is if I have old wine, you know, or like Diane, what you're saying, old wine, you know, a 30-year-old wine in the neck, the first step is to accept that old wine, right? And in that moment of radical acceptance, that old wine dissolves back into the truth of its divine nature, because one of the ahas I got is, if I'm labeling anything in my experience as not God, I'm creating the next separation I'll have to work on 5 years from now. Do you know? And so, yeah, so this, whether it's a negative emotion or a physical state, what I, you know, is that there's that, it can be an instant, but accepting it in that field of self-love allows it to dissolve, then you can put the new wine in the wineskin. Anyway, that was...
Yeah, I mean, one thing that came up with that too is that, and I'll give it to Roseanne, is that what you do when you say, ask the question, why, since my body has redone itself a million trillion times even in this day and I'm pulling this back, Why am I doing it? What is happening is you're pulling out the boogeyman. And the reason it relieves right away is because as long as you keep saying you don't know, I don't know why this is happening. Oh yeah, I know why. It's because I'm programmed that way. That's why it's happening. I'm programmed that way. There's not a bit of energy that I'm saying right now that is productive. I know, but I have energy, and oh, Joe's right, and look, I'm climbing up, and oh, because the minute you call it out, and love is the only way to call it out, and saying that no matter what, that I love you, and that will dissolve. And Roseanne, and then we must go on. We'll never get you out of it.
Okay, I'm going to take a little risk right now by saying, when I make a mistake anymore, I don't know why this came to me. There's this old song, probably from the 40s, and Rob will know this. So I'm not usually a singer in a group, so I have to sing this to you. I love me, I will to the end. I love me, there's no other way. I love me, what more can I say? There, I've said it again.
Whoa, I love it. Thank you.
So we can all find a song.
Yeah.
So we have our torch song singer for tonight. It's Roseanne, risk taker Roseanne. Give it up for Roseanne. I love me.
That was beautiful. And you took a risk.
And you
Yes,
took a risk.
that's good. When you thoughtfully rehearse a future reality until your brain has physically changed to look like it has had the experience, you have emotionally embraced a new intention so many times that your body is altered to reflect that it has had that experience. Hang on, because this is the moment the event finds you, and it will arrive in a way that you least expect. A couple of people have had their least expects tonight,
Right.
which leaves no doubt that it came from your relationship to a greater consciousness, so that it inspires you to do it again and again.
And again, that's the key.
Yeah.
Again and again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's it's like Tigger. Right? It's like I'm so tired, I'm just dragging myself, and then you're thinking, no, I got to put springs in there. And then at first you just go, oh yeah. Then you start walking, and all of a sudden it meets you. The event meets you.
And don't forget, your brain doesn't know the difference of the real
Absolutely.
event or the actual you thinking it enough times to make it real for yourself. Doesn't know the difference. That's the beautiful part of all this. Yes.
Well, I had this idea that I wanted purple Crocs, and I just didn't, not that I was expecting the universe to just pop them out of nowhere. I was going to buy them. I just hadn't got around to them, but the universe just popped them out of nowhere. And Steve came home. He said, oh, my client gave me these Crocs.
Okay.
Perfect size, perfect
Will
color.
you please stand up so Rob can take a picture of your purple Crocs?
Purple Crocs.
That's great. I love
Oh my God,
it. That happens.
It's not. I'm gonna buy them. I don't expect you, of course, because you're in the way, because it's just like all that. This is it. It's not about magic but it is. But the moment that you
I'm
say,
gonna send you these. So
this
don't
is
write it
what
down.
this is what I choose, and I'm willing to pay for them. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but I'm gonna have some purple Crocs. Don't even have to have a reason why. The law of our being in the universe doesn't say, now, are purple Crocs really a good thing in your life right now? It doesn't care. It's impartial. It just says yes. It just says yes. And here's the other thing. I will get them to you the fastest way that I
You
can.
don't even have to go to Ross's or wherever
No.
you get purple Crocs.
You just go shopping with Jai. And pink, those pink tights.
All right, so did I spell it right? I think I did. So this is from Ernest Holmes, which just went totally with what we were talking with what the chapter was. And when I said we didn't plan it ahead of time, we just did the chapters in order. And and we said, well, if they don't really work, we'll make them work. But this one happened to really actually work.
Actually, yeah.
Go ahead, why don't you read it? Patrick?
We have developed what we call a new order of spiritual meditation, where an individual takes time definitely each day to remind himself that he or she is spirit, that he or she is one with God, and to try to bring about a deep realization that there is a power greater than himself sustaining him, a wise counselor guiding him, a generous provider who is ready and willing to meet the needs of everyday life. My personal thing, just to let you know, in FYI, it's a little dualistic. It seems a little separate, but in reality, we can go past that because it's just words. What it's telling us is that we need to take, just what we've been saying tonight, to take that time every day to remember who we are. And we do it in meditation, journaling, driving, it doesn't really matter.
And so let us then think of spiritual psychosomatics and consciously and deliberately unite the mind with the spirit. So he takes it to the step that, if the mind and the body, you're doing the mind and the body, but you can't forget who you are and where you're coming from, because that's exactly what Melissa was saying about I'm loved by God. To make that conscious union with spirit, that's where it's going to be easier for you to do all this. If you leave that out of the equation, then you're just working kind of trying to change your mind, trying to change your thinking, but when you can open up to the expansiveness of the quantum field, whatever you want to call it. And it takes time. Patrick and I were saying, why is he calling it a new order of spiritual meditation? Well, maybe in 1926 when he wrote this, it was a new order, because he probably came from churches where, with the dogma that they didn't do that, really. They didn't really do that. So, let's talk.
So a man develops arthritis in his feet because
do you remember this story? Yeah.
Because he has a job of collecting that is distasteful to him. What do you think of that? True? False? Could be? Right.
So then we came up with this thing, are we blaming ourselves for our illnesses? That's something to think about, all right? Because what happens is we don't want to become oh, well, I was a bad girl and therefore I, got arthritis, or I didn't like my job and therefore I got arthritis. It's not about that. To me, it's about creating the stresses that we create within ourselves. We don't create illnesses, but we do create a stressful environment for ourselves that allows these things to deal. Yeah.
Dr. Joe always talks about how your emotions are always making these chemical concoctions within your body. So if we're always in a state of stress and anger or fear, depression or whatever it may be, then we're going to get constant shots of cortisol and adrenaline, and it's never good for us. All it does is it's diseasing, it's a disease in so many ways, and it's going to create diseases in the long run.
Yeah. That's all he's saying.
For me, it's if I let myself get really stuck in the tip of my flame, where I think it's just this little being and it's just a Dara, and I'm having this experience and I'm to blame, right, for whatever's going on. If I remind myself of the truth that I'm the result of millions of years of evolution, that I am a reflection of generations on both sides of my family, that I carry part of the human condition that's up to be resolved, that for me, I like to think of myself as a heroine on a journey, that if something comes up in me, that all that is just an invitation for me to be the one. That I'm, the Native Americans were saying we're the ones who are waiting for, to let go of thinking I caused it all. Melissa, you might be a heroine that is healing something that goes back on both sides of your lineage.
One quick minute story about creating the things that you don't want by focusing on not wanting them. Rita and I are borrowing, or taking care of Glenn Marianne's car while they're gone, and we have a island car. It's now an island car. It wasn't when we brought it here, but anyway, it's an island car now. But anyway, so I have been like obsessive about don't put anything in the back seat, because last time they came back there was a little spot or something and they were asking about the spot, you know. So I got this like trigger. So don't go to Costco, don't put anything unless it's in the trunk, and I've got this, and I go, because I don't want to spill anything on it. You know, Rita's, you know, I don't even take it to run because there's going to be sweat on the back of the, you know what I mean? I've been obsessive, by the way. So they're coming home October 8th. So today, dun da da dun, I spilled all my coffee all over the seat. And so this was my reaction.
We got it out there.
This was the reaction. I go, I could just tell, put the coffee here to get the 2 water bottles. Boom. So my immediate reaction was spiritual, of course. Fuck! Oh my God, Rita! And I'm running around going, self-fulfilling prophecy, and I'm like completely, I mean, my neighbors must have thought I was, and I go like this, Rita, you know, and so we get to 409, and everything's becoming this dramatic thing. I'm trying to get down here by 10 o'clock, and I'm like going, oh my God, and then the whole time, because of good science of mind, right? I wonder, well, how did I create that? I was just wondering how I created that. I was just, and it was crazy making, but guess what? I was almost relieved because I have been obsessing about spilling something, so it was kind of like, well, there we go.
So, but see,
There we go. It's done.
It's so
But
true,
here's the-
because this is the spiritual truth, though. What we focus on, whether we focus on it negatively or
Yes.
positively, the law is still saying that he's still creating a picture of him spilling something or ruining that seat in some way. And so it happened. So
Yes.
it made that whole thing about what
So
you
I'm
resist,
thinking I'm being the
persist.
good boy, like taking care of this car.
Anyway,
Absolutely. And all the time I'm like going, I hope I don't spill. I hope I don't spill. I'm just doing, and all of a sudden, but this was the best thing. So we went dun to the dun. She goes, well, we'll get the cleaner out. And we got 409 and put it on the seat. And all of a sudden, it was gone. And I just went, wow. Be careful of what you focus upon, because I thought I was doing the great job of focusing on not getting it dirty. And my focus just came. And here's what I did on the way down here so we can complete it. I was going, I can't believe I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. No, you don't. No. I spilled on it. No, I love you. I love you. I love you. I've got to be there in 10 minutes. And I put my heart, and I just went, I am so proud of you right now that you're able to take this incredible material that you can use in a talk, you can use it in class, that you can do this. And I said, I'm really proud of you, and I love you. And, you know, whatever happens, we'll do this. This is okay. So it was talking to that little boy that wanted to make sure that he didn't do anything bad, and talking to it. No?
You know what, we're going to
Yes.
skip this quote because you can read it, but we just want to do this one, and then we're going to close this, because Plotinus, this ancient
Oh, I
guy,
love
right, in
it.
3rd century AD, our physical organism is attached to a spiritual idea, which we call a prototype or a divine pattern. And when any physical organ becomes detached from its pattern, it begins to have pain and longs to return to that which makes it whole. That's like I love that quote. That's all that's happening. It just wants to become whole again, and that's what pain is. It makes so much sense, and that's why Ernest Holmes always would say, when you treat for pain, just remember that God is where the pain is, and God reveals itself where the pain is, because then the pain has to be released because God is revealing itself. So I just love that. I love the fact that this guy, however many years ago that was, 3,000
Right.
years ago, right? No. 3rd century AD. Well, whatever. However, I'm not going to do my math. Yeah. God is not external to anyone, but is present with all things, though they are ignorant that he is so. So, I mean, this is nothing new. And man is spirit having a mind and a body. So it's not enough to say, Ernest says, that there must be proper relationship between the mind and body. There must be a proper relationship between the spirit and the mind. Because if you get aligned with the spirit and the allness, and I love myself and I'm God and God loves me and all that, then your mind's going to start working. It's going to be a lot more powerful to get you through the, getting those emotions out of your body, right? And then if you just feel like you're working by yourself.
I like this idea of the pain. I've said that with people that are very, very in extreme pain. I said, oh, your pain. I said, your pain is crying. Your pain is crying. That's what you're hearing and feeling. It's crying to go home. Crying to go home. And so, but what we say is what? Bad pain. Bad pain. Go away. Get away from me. This is awful. This is awful. This is awful. Whatever it is. And then and if you turned around, you say, I know you're trying to go home. And I'm going to be the best I can. And I may not be the greatest right now because I'm in a lot of pain. But at least I know that you're not my enemy. You're not my enemy. Not my enemy. Court the divine.
Yeah, court the divine. So we're going to kind of almost close with this. So go into the inner chamber of our thoughts and feelings and meditate upon the divine presence until it becomes a reality, and then conform our whole thinking to this invisible pattern of ourselves. That's the key, right? That's the key. So next week, I'm going to send this to you because I didn't write it out. I'm just going to send you the slides. It's just easier if I just send them to you. So so you're going to read that from the Living the Science of Mind, and then you're going to read chapter 3 if you haven't already read it, and chapter 4 is Overcoming Time.
Chapter 4 is Overcoming Time. Oh my
and then
gosh.
Bring your wholeness exercise back with your ahas. So work on that, and your meditation, and your journaling, and work on your final project. Nothing else to say.
So what's one feeling you're feeling right now?
Grateful. Springy.
Springy.
Connected.
Connected.
Awake.
Just happy.
Simple.
Yeah, happy.
Content.
Stimulated.
Calm.
Whole.
Excited.
Ambitious.
Fulfilled.
Surprised.
Wonderful.
Joyful. This has been an amazing.
Appreciative for me.
We must never forget that man, woman is a spiritual being with a mind and a body. It is only when these three are brought together that we can hope to have health, happiness, and success. And what I mean is we don't have to hope, we can know. So let's just treat. So let's take a moment to close out this amazing class that we've had tonight that has been so powerful and so opening of my heart to the even deeper knowing of this beautiful, amazing truth of who and what we are. And so I know that that power and presence, that source, that thing that's never been touched by anything, that inner me, that inner us, that inner thing that sings and sings within us and all creation, that greatness, that quantum field, whatever we want to call it, it's one thing, it's love. And so I know that we have awakened that love tonight in an even deeper, greater level that assists us in our life as we move forward from here out into the world, as we continue to study this great teaching of these great mystics and teachers that we are studying, knowing that we are mystics also, that we have something to teach ourselves, that we have that opportunity to make the decision in every moment to be a mystic, a great teacher, a beautiful, amazing being of light and love. And that's what we are. We don't have to become it. It is who we are. And I know and claim that we take that with us tonight as we bring it into our experience so that we can embody it, that we bring it into our experience with ease and with grace. And as we meet each and every other person on this plane of existence, as we travel through this thing called life, that we see it everywhere and in and through everything. And because of that, we have made the world a better place just by being our own true self. So I am grateful, grateful, grateful. And I just take this beautiful, amazing class as one word of love, as one word of knowing and divine energy, and I release it as law into law, knowing that it is so, and it is made manifest for each of us in the most perfect, amazing way, surprising way. I get out of the way of how that is, and I just let it be so as we affirm. And so it is.